Okay.
There we go.
And it's all worked out on mine as well, Stuart. I fixed it. It's all fixed.
It's good.
It is. It needs to be tip top to talk to you.
Welcome back, guys.
Tremendous people.
Yes. Here today to talk about episode 8 of season 1 called the Elysian Kingdom. Dun dun dun. Which is kind of a divisive episode, honestly.
I have not looked at anything else. That's news to me.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was boring and dull and didn't like it, and a lot of people love it. So, one of them is my friend Michael Freitas. You know Michael. He didn't even watch the whole thing. He got bored about 20 minutes in and turned it off and watched the Orville instead, and hasn't gone back to it. So.
Has that happened for Discovery? I guess you kind of like get so annoyed by it that you stay with it. It's the bad episode, but
I have no idea if he watches Discovery.
I have asked that with you before. Would you rather be more boring or annoying? Because one, at least you have hate versus So that answers that question. That for sure. Darn. Okay. Well, let's do a poll instantly.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
I just don't understand people that don't finish watching something. If I sit down, I'm going to watch it, At least the whole episode. So.
Yeah, and like I would never even consider walking out of a feature film cinema.
I know. Everybody's like, I walked out of the theater. Bullshit, you did. You're just saying that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like even if you don't like a movie, you're still like, you can only express your true feelings if you've seen it all.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk out, as soon as you stop taking it in, your opinion is at least a good chunk de-justified. Because what if the amazing twist happens that changes at the end, or what if so you can say it.
Sense. You walk out halfway through. What an awful movie. It made no sense. Well, it.
That's on you. Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand some people. Both him and my buddy Keith both thought it was boring because Keith was like maybe 10 minutes into it and he messaged our group chat saying, well, it looks like we got our first stinker in Strange New Worlds. I'm like, have you watched the whole thing? No, I just started watching it. I'm like, well, then watch till the end.
Then
I haven't talked to him since then, and he hasn't chimed in with his opinion, so I don't know. He should be, yeah.
No, I mean, he blocked you. I mean.
Oh, no.
Because you were saying, we're fascinating. Yes, well, like I said, I'm super interested to look at this, talk to you all, and see. I don't know. We'll discuss it. I will start sharing some intro to.
Go for it. All right, guys, 33 of you here, 25 likes. Hit that like button. Let's try to get those likes up right away. Don't forget to super chat. We want to hear your thoughts on this episode. This was a fun one, and then quite touching as well. So, looking forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions. So please super chat, support the channel. If you want to help us on a monthly basis, you can click that join button and select one of the ranks that are available, which is just like a monthly amount that you put in to help us out. And those also make a huge difference, not only to us financially, but also to the channel as far as analytics and stuff go. So, or you can head over to Patreon/Trekyards. It's another way to help us as well. And don't forget the links down below. There's links to our TeePublic store, which right now has a 40% off sale. It's actually 40 to 35 or 35 to 40%, depending on what you're ordering. But right now, it's a great time to get some Trekyards merchandise. So I encourage you guys to go click the link to the TeePublic store. There is also our Teespring store, which there's a few items that are not available on the TeePublic store, which are available on the Teespring store, and vice versa. So go take a look and see what you guys are interested in that way. There's also affiliate links to Eaglemoss and stuff down below. Click those and use the discount code Trekyards10 to save yourself some money on Eaglemoss ships, and some other fun stuff down there. So look at the description of every video. Do it. Omnitographer, $5.
Thank you.
I loved this episode even more than last week's. It was like a classic Q Mischief episode. Not sure about the ending, though. Mbanga took a big risk. Speaking as a parent, I think he did the right thing. So.
And so it's a Q Mischief episode. It's a Q Mischief episode, but without the Q.
Yeah.
or has the mischief been more confusion? So it's sort of the same, but it's also missing all of the charm that made it a Q episode like that. It's got its own stuff. So I wouldn't say... It's a bit more like the Rabbit episode from TOS.
Surely.
It's a bit like, I mean, weird shit's happening. Hasn't got the same charm as a Q episode because it has a focus. This doesn't really have as much of a focus. Especially in the first 25 minutes, it's very unfocused. Because Mbenga's like, what?
It's supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be discombobulating.
Mm-hmm. And certainly, I'm sure, like, most of his lines in that segment are like, huh? What? No. Huh? No shit. I don't believe... Like, there's a lot of those sorts of lines, which sort of show more in second viewing. First time you're sort of wondering what's happening. Second time you're like, yes.
Yeah, his and Pike's reactions during this whole thing were fantastic. There were two standouts for sure. Another two standouts were La'an, and another two standouts were Uhura as well. So, just saying. Danny Janey, $5. Absolutely loved this episode. It was perfectly Trek. Thank you so much. And Mr. Matt Boardman with $10. No lies. The ending of this episode made me full-on ugly cry. Was not expecting that. Perhaps it's because I'm missing my kids right now. Yeah, that'll do it. But was fantastically done. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. The first time I watched it, I was kind of like, oh, that's an interesting ending. Second time, I kind of got a little bit of well up in the eyes when I watched it. And third time, I was like trying to not cry. So it got more emotional the more I saw it, which was weird because I knew it was coming. So I think I was looking at it that first viewing. I always have my review brain on. I'm just taking notes on things mentally and stuff, and it just didn't.
And you're waiting for that ship to appear.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't watch it for entertainment purposes necessarily.
Yeah.
More for analytical reasons. So, yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah, keep the super chats coming, guys. It's your way to chime in with your thoughts on this episode, and we really want to hear them. And please go vote in the poll. We got 45 people here with 34 likes. Hit that like button and vote in the poll, please.
Yeah, these are our big lives of the week that we do. Normally are our biggest of the week. They help us keep going. Obviously, Stranger Worlds, you guys literally asked for it, so we assume this to be a huge live. Lots of people. Not as many people join as we thought these days. I guess Stranger World maybe isn't generating the interest that we thought. It's a bit weird. I mean, Picard...
There's a lot of praise for it on social media, so...
Maybe people are just enjoying it without wanting to discuss it so much.
Maybe they're just afraid people are going to poo-poo all over it, so they don't want to watch anything because, they don't want to have their enjoyment taken away. So, I don't know.
Although we're mostly praising things, so it's not really...
Oh, yeah. 50 Charlie puts in $2.
Thanks.
Reminded me of Bashir's Bond parody episode. Ah, yes. There's a lot of these kind of standout episodes in TOS. Actually, on my live first reaction last night, somebody mentioned that the script was originally an idea that Gene had for a TOS episode, which never got made, which I could see, at least the first, the main story element, not necessarily the ending with Mbonga, but... so I don't know if that's true or not, but I just wanted to point that out.
I'm sure I had lots of ideas as well, in fairness.
Wouter215 throws in €10.
Oh, beautiful.
Good episode. Love the Red Guard uniforms and Pike's hairstyle, but this could have been better as a lower decks where pleasant fountains lie. Crossover. It would just fit super well. Yeah, and I gotta admit, and I think I did admit in the other edited review that I thought watching the trailers that was the case with this, that they had taken over the ship or something, and it was basically, just what's his name, the engineer,
Emma.
No, in Lower Decks, his family.
Oh,
can't remember offhand. Yeah. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I can picture the guy, but let us know.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought it would be a crossover with that as well. Was not though, and it was fine to not be. A Saucy Puppet Show member of the channel for 5 months at the rank of captain,
which is amazing. Captain. Thanks so much.
Holodeck episode without the holodeck.
Yes.
And a Q episode without the Q. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Also had a brief... Oh, yeah. This is Jericho says, just activated the UK Paramount Plus. The thing is useless. Only 3 Stranger Worlds episodes. But we knew that. We knew they were only going to get a couple and then be released weekly. They said that like 4 months ago. So
yeah,
feel lucky that you got 3 because they weren't going to give 3. Originally was going to start at 0 and then.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's. But this is one of the things where it was been a pain for 5 years. With
Phillips. That's his name.
Phillips,
Sorry.
yes. Yeah, it's been a pain of them shitting on us for 5 years, but now everything will be at the same time from now on. So you've now got it, and people forget the shit they put on us for 5 years. Just this is the last one where you're thinking, why are we behind? But we knew it would be, so.
And Water215 just said what I was going to say to you after you're done there. If this was the TOS episode, I could see this being the return of Trelane. Like he unleashed more of his powers. He didn't need to be in or have the computer necessarily to enhance his powers because he's grown up a bit, and more like a Q type entity. Yeah, I think that would work fine.
It would need to be more menacing because he's a bit more mean. There's almost no. There's very little subtext of danger in this episode, partially because of the silliness of having the corridors filled with trees. It plays off as a very surface level holodeck vibe rather than more dangerous, which is good. It's what it's meant to be. But if they were going for a more dark vibe, they need to have Trelane actually have someone killed, and then they'll come back at the end. Which, if everything's resetting, you can kill the characters and not have any great issue.
Yes, sir. All right. Well.
So, Stuart, what do you think of this episode? And as you alluded to earlier, then your many rewatches since your first reaction, as of a few minutes after finishing it, which is always our first time.
Like I said, it got more emotional each time I watched it. I haven't watched it for a 4th time, but I simply enjoyed this episode. This was just a fun sit down and have fun watching an episode. Seeing them out of character was great, and lots to look at visually, not just with the ship, but with the characters. And I think everybody was used fairly well. Chapel, I wish she had a bit of a bigger role, but she's kind of been a standout in the last few episodes, so it's fine. But Hammerback was awesome. It just actually he was having fun in the role, and even as the character, having fun being the wizard with the magic of science. I thought that was great. So seeing more of him is always good. And Pike was amazing in this episode. I loved him playing against character. Always works well, I think, for those kind of actors, and they must have a blast doing it. And he was just spot on. And even Mbanga, I thought, was a good lead for this episode. His reactions to things like, she sings her song of mourning, and he's like, great. Just moving on. It was just, it was a fun episode until it wasn't, because it was really fun, and then it kind of got very heartfelt and touching at the end. And a lot of people last night on my first reaction were questioning his how good of a parent he was for what he did. And I have a bit of an issue with that. But I thought it was very well done, and I really liked the idea of what happened there at the end. So, I mean, all you want as a parent is to have your kids safe and happy. So that's all you really want. So anyway, yeah, it definitely stands up to multiple viewings, but it's just one of those fun episodes of Star Trek. There's a few of them that are just, characters in fish out of water scenarios. So how about you? How many times have you seen it now?
Always just the 2. I see so much in the viewings that any more than that, and it would just, most things aren't interesting enough to more than 2 viewings for me, just because I see enough of them anyway. But so it's definitely different. I was okay. So first watch, I enjoyed it quite a lot. It's one of those ones I said in another review where I will forget about it quicker than most of the episodes because it has no grander trek in it. So it's a fun but shallow Trek episode. However, when you're living it, you appreciate the acting's fantastic, the set design's fantastic, the costume's fantastic, the ultimate performances are fantastic, and then the ending is what gives it the gravitas that without that it would have fallen flat, I think, because it's a lot of setup. It's almost entirely setup and then one big payoff scene, but because the setup is irrelevant, it's more about building the understanding of the situation in the kid's eyes, which you only get second time. Because I enjoyed the start more the second time, because in the first watch, I wasn't taking in what he was saying about the book, because why would you care? It's a book. Second time, you're like, oh, I know all these people now. So that was definitely a lot of fun the second time round. But I did find myself, I was getting bored the second time. I kind of switched off halfway through because it just wasn't, there's nothing really happening. And if you've seen it and you know the reveal, those middle chunks are relatively dull. It's the same corridors, same sets, they're not doing much. And then the ending's still good, but I did find myself bored the second time because you know it, so there's nothing new to see. You know, like I say, it's quite shallow. And I kind of feel amazingly good for the Ortega's actor, who gets to have a full episode to herself. But also, you learn zero more about Ortega's because we're the Ortega's. So the Ortega's character is still completely unused so far, but the actress gets to do something, which is a sad caveat of, you know, she got a lot, but also zero for the character. You learn anything new about her. So I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the first half more the second time, the middle a lot less second time, and the ending about as much the second time. And I would certainly be bored on the third time because there's not much beyond that. It's a very, like I say, shallow episode. Because there's nothing Trekian to pull from it, you know. Yeah.
Interesting. Ozzy puts in $2 and says Hammer loves science. He does, but Ortega's was the one that actually said that line. I really like this science. That was a hilarious little callback to Discovery.
It worked 100 times better.
Yes,
because the first one's absolutely obnoxious and stupid and pathetic. This one's okay. Cool. I definitely appreciate also the princess on more the second time, because when you know she's just there to have fun, that entire bit is just to have fun. There isn't any meat there really, story-wise, but it's just fun.
There's a lot of meat there with Lon.
Oh, that's different. Story-wise. So when you just like you know that she's just read her part, like she's in the script for this bit, and then she leaves, so she's really having fun with it in a few pages, which you can see, you can feel it in her performance. She's just giving it her all. So I like that a lot. And the ending, obviously, we'll get to and get there. I've got thoughts on that as well. I'm coming from a non-parent thought. But yeah.
Cool.
And the poll currently at 58 votes is: do you like episode 8? 69% yes, 24% meh, 7% no. So those that did not like it, Stuart, are not currently showing up. So that's good for us, I guess. All right, where's Premiere gone?
Yeah, Danny Janie says we also need more pets in space. # bring back Porthos. Well, fun fact, that's actually the actress's own dog, so that was kind of funny.
One of my favourite moments is when the dog was licking her
chest, yeah.
And it's like, because it's her dog, just having fun with it. And she's like, this take we're using. Like, I think the director, like, that happened once. The director said, whatever we do, keep that take. That take is our take. Because it's so cute. But we start off with Mbenga's captain's log. Or
personal log.
There you go.
That being said, I don't know if you noticed this, every time he uses the medical scanner, he uses it backwards.
He's done that every single time for every single episode.
I know. I wonder if it's kind of his own callback to Spock, always turning the tricorder away from him and like tipping it and looking at the screen upside down.
I believe that one of the prop people said it's because both sides have a different function.
Okay, I'll buy that. Sure.
But it does seem a bit silly because you never once feel the detail of it spinning because he's always in his hand. It just feels like a blank white thing with a light. It's odd that they would entirely ignore it's one feature. I feel that must be. I mean, you're not gonna. The director would notice that by telling them, so it's intentional. It's
Well, one of the best things about this book, I don't know if you noticed, but the Kingdom of Elysian, the book, you see the cover of it, and it's written by Benny Russell, who is Cisco from Beyond the Farthest Star, or Far Beyond the Stars, whatever it's called, which was great. And I'm sure this book will be available for purchase on StarTrek.com very soon. Come on, they're definitely going to do that.
Yeah, it's the smallest reference, and I don't think anyone would catch it unless someone points it out. But someone pointed out on Twitter, I saw it. Cool. Different to his other stories, though. Not sure when he wrote it. But I mean, does that say something to have Black King and Black Queen?
Yeah,
fighting
maybe.
the black power of his existence. That makes sense.
Yeah, because he was all about having a black captain. Why can't there be a black captain?
And now we got Black King and Queen. Lovely.
Shannon Nash,
ooh.
$20.
Ah!
I really enjoyed this episode. I understand art is subjective, but I don't understand how fans didn't like this. I cried at the end too. I could go on, but I don't have $100 to drop here. I will say, abracadabra, perfect. Yeah.
Although
I
20
don't know
is
how
amazing.
people couldn't like it either. It's just a fun episode. So
yeah, it knows what it's trying to be and it's doing it well. Yeah.
We do learn in this opening log though that his daughter's illness is progressing quite quickly and she doesn't have much time left. And he does make a point of saying that the longer she's out of the transporter, the faster the disease increases. So, and he also says during the course of the episode he didn't think it would take this long. So it's kind of coming down to crunch hour for this as well.
And that's my biggest problem with the episode is that he does say down from months to weeks to hours.
Yeah.
But without a number, hours could still be, if she has to be out for 3 minutes at a time, hours could still be 9 months of time. I wish he'd said, I can only bring her out 6 more times and then she'll die. Like, I needed that level of tension because otherwise the acting is all a bit, at the end it's a sacrifice, but without a sense of how soon, she might still have months, in which case, I mean, not so everything's going to change, but it seemed, because if he said, I only have, 176 minutes with her left, which is a powerful thing, and she says, just read me the story, and he's thinking, that's 3 minutes of those 126. That level of ticking clock at the start would have really helped, I think, create that dark tension. I think that would have just been really, really important. Or have her feel ill because she's not changed her symptoms at all, which doesn't help. If she'd been more and more ill throughout the 3 times we've seen her, that I think might have helped as well. So there's a slight disconnect there with time versus not time. And I'll get into a point I have later on with how that connects to him personally, but it's one thing I would change. I think would really help the episode was that sense of, I have 6 more times out, and I have to keep her in the buffer for twice as long, causing twice as much cell damage, and then she's starting to get lesions and it's starting to kill her in a different way, like a really visceral sense of tension, which then would have played much better actually if she'd been ill in the first scene, and at the end had been a happy, beautiful princess. Then the healing would have worked a lot better because she looks the same in both scenes. So I think that was a real misstep by the team. But maybe the actress just didn't, just couldn't do makeup in that way, or they didn't want to go that dark. But would you agree that would have made it a lot better?
Yeah, absolutely. We need some kind of ticking clock more than just vague generalities. Cool. Something more specific. Charles June, $5. Hi, Captain. Hi, Commander. I like this episode a lot.
Good to see you again, Charles.
Cool.
Remember that picture? Yes, you share the powerful beard. Well,
this is where he gets desperate and he starts mixing some concoctions, and then it got a little bit of an explosion. Chemical 3QND, but it gets contained. Although he does breathe some in and coughs a bit, so it's kind of a red herring. It's like later on he even says, it was because of that, because the inhalation. Am I hallucinating? Which I thought was a nice little touch, and it's never referred to again. But yeah, nice little idea. I think we would have maybe said, if this hadn't been in the episode, that they should have had a scene something like this. So you're kind of second guessing what's going on, but.
Little Jericho says he's just not a very good doctor. Bring back Dr. Boyce. I mean, he does get demoted heavily, so, and he's not been shown to be a very good doctor yet. So yes, he's probably just not the best.
Maybe he doesn't get
doctor.
Demoted. Maybe he just resigns his commission and leaves for a while, and then comes back as just as an assistant.
But I do agree. You never get a sense he's a particularly good doctor in this show.
Not yet. No.
The last time he did anything, it was Chapel's idea, so he's a passable doctor. I mean, Boyce felt better for his limited time, and that's nothing. It's the actor. He just hasn't had nothing doctory to do of a doctor quality.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because he's friends with Pike. Now, we'll obviously call out holographic force field on TOS biobed. Clearly too advanced. TOS clearly never had that, but whatever. I mean, that's so fantasy. You wouldn't even think TNG could do that. I mean, not in that. I mean, it'd be big, because in Voyager they got a specific room that has a force field. It wouldn't be like a self-contained bubble. It would close off in a very forced. It's just too advanced for TOS, but obviously it all is. So, just want to point out.
Mm-hmm. And then Una comes in and kind of gives him shit for not doing his job, and she's like, "I sympathize with your situation, but you are still chief medical officer. You need things to do." We need to do things. And I'm wondering why the shuttle crew didn't just come down to sickbay and maybe get looked at by one of the nurses. Oh, wait, there's no staff. Okay, sweet. Where's Chapel?
Yes. Now, this is interesting because the first time I didn't really pull in the idea of were the chemicals infecting his brain. I didn't think it'd be that literal, so I kind of zoomed past that. The second time, this scene clearly implies it is the chemicals, because the fact that he now's alone in his office, she comes in, she's kind of acting off with this weird situation. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, time has passed. Where have you been?" This feels like a hallucination, very much so. It's constructed in that sort of weird, ethereal way.
Yeah.
Didn't work first time for me. Second time, it's kind of clearly it's a hallucination, even though it's not.
It kind of cuts to him leaning over the thing with his sleeves pushed up, like he's been there for some time, and it could be that it's just from that moment on, it was in his mind.
But the fact is, there'd been multiple nurses who'd have come throughout sick bay, who'd have noticed him, probably said, "Doctor, you've got There's zero chance he's not been disturbed in the amount of hours. If they're waiting 4 hours, there's always more than one person at sick bay on shift. So it's basically impossible for him to not have been distracted in that many hours. And like you say, the shuttle crew, or the captain would have called down to the sick bay and said, "Doctor, the shuttle crew here." Like he wouldn't, unless he started the experiments after the shuttle crew arrived. But you know what I mean? Like the scene doesn't make sense in many ways, just functionally as an officer. It's fine. It just doesn't really work as a scene.
That's the other thing. They're exploring this nebula. What was the shuttle crew doing? Maybe doing routine, like flying around the nebula
in their shuttle.
Why would that constitute them having to get a check necessarily? It's not like they went planet side and could be infected with something.
That just seems weird. Walk. Yeah, so it feels like a fake scene almost.
Yeah,
the way it's kind of framed. Although I will credit Pestle and Mortar. That was a nice little detail.
Furious Fawns, $5. Anyone catch that the storybook is written by Benny Russell? # bring back Boyce. # we want Combs. Yes, we did mention that, Furious Fawns, but thank you.
It's a very, very good reference. And yes, I would love to, Combs' Boyce is perfect. That's been a big thing, we agree. Terrence asks, where are we from? Because he's from Maryland. Where are you from, Stuart?
London, Ontario, Canada. I don't think he's asking us. I think he's asking the chat.
I know, but if I'd say it, then everyone else has to say it in the chat too.
London, Ontario, Canada.
Bedford, England, London. No, Bedford, London. No, Bedford, England. Bedford, England, United Kingdom. That's what I'm trying to say. Because you had three, so I thought I should have 3 layers of place.
Yes. All right, Bridgestein. All the buoys have been retrieved with all the information from the nebula. They're ready to go. And Pike's like, I could get used to this. Just exploring, no battles. Just focusing on the science. And Spock's like, yeah, but superstition, you shouldn't say that because you just jinxed it, essentially. And, really? Well, didn't think you were so superstitious, Spock. And Spock's like, what? No, I'm not. I'm just... Anyway, let's leave. Boom. Warp doesn't work. Boom. Impulse doesn't work. And Ortegas just falls down. It doesn't appear like she really hurts herself at all. And that's the other thing. They call Mbanga to the bridge. He doesn't grab a tricorder. He doesn't grab a medical scanner. He just goes to the bridge. Because they do say Ortegas is injured. Can you get to the bridge? And he just leaves to go to the bridge. He doesn't grab any equipment. Like, you get up there, it's like, oh shit, I should have brought a scanner because I don't really know how bad her head injury is. Huh. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like a weird disconnect again.
That is so true. Yeah, this all feels like a hallucination as well.
Yep.
100%. Yeah, 100%. But this is the first bit's obviously great with Pike and Spock. It's so human, so silly, so real. And also the fact that he can appreciate the small things, even though he knows he only has so many years left. This is a very small thing, so that shows how he's not lingering on it, which is good.
Yeah. And why was she standing? That's a good point.
To fall. That's it. It wasn't well framed. Oh. And did you know that the lady next to her is the captain of the Red Guards?
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah. Yes. We should said something.
We've seen her a few times.
We have. Which means that they sort of transported people through and out the bridge, of the ship. It wasn't just whoever was where, because she obviously wasn't here. And there was way more officers on the bridge. So the captain did more, the air did more things. But yeah, very silly. It does feel like a stupid pratfall, and also the stabbing. Yeah, it's a bit naff. I mean, the whole scenes aren't good. These little transitional ones, aren't good. Although I love Mbenga.
But they move very quickly. So even though they're not good, and certain things don't make sense, they move very. It's a good pace for this episode, I think.
But I love the fact that Mbenga does continue to hold the turbolift thing, showing that some people just do it out of habit or old school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he gets on the bridge and boom.
Snoopy McQueen, though, $5. That bubble is not too advanced for the 23rd century. Worst episode of almost any Trek. 4 out of 10. See, Snoopy's one of the ones that doesn't like it. Which...
I mean, pretty advanced. I mean, they don't have. You can't just make a small bubble of shields. They have like blast doors between decks. They have force fields between bulkheads. That less advanced. They definitely have a small force field. They might have a biobed force field that goes around the whole thing, which is a dedicated ring of force field. But they certainly don't have a little bubble.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Can't remember. God damn it.
Yes.
Anyway,
they're on the bridge and everyone's looking great. Way more extras than we've seen normally on the bridge. It's very packed.
Mm-hmm.
And Pike is fun.
Did you notice? This is something I noticed. His star that he's wearing, his medallion, is just the command star upside down. It's the command star on the Delta. If you turn that upside down and put it on like a Starfleet officer at a star base, it just seems like it would fit. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've got to commend them for the simple but effective redress. It feels so radically different, and then clearly the same. I don't know how I would have done this myself, and this is a very good version of this. So good job, them. You know what they've done? They've put carpet on the top ring.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
It's great.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, here take us is Sir Adja, and if you look at the picture in the book, Sir Adja is supposed to be a man by the looks of it. So love that. So. But yeah, the whole get the joke. Is this a joke? Do you want to be entertained? Get the Joker.
Jester.
Or the court jester. Yeah. Hold on the jester.
And Benga's like, oh, what do you do? Well, he's so reactionary. But he's so underplaying everything. I do wish him being a trained officer, he was a bit more in control of the situation. Most Trek officers wouldn't just be like, what? Too much. He pushed that card very far into the episode. It's kind of a little embarrassing for him. That said, I'll give him a pass because one, he's daughter crazed, can't think, so he's not all there, and B, he's probably not a very good officer in general. Like, he's good at the medical, nothing else. You don't get a sense he's a well-rounded officer, kind of like Hemmer. Like, he hasn't got the social skills or the planetary skills. Most officers kind of do a bit of everything. He's obviously very blinkered, so he's like, I'm not trying to deal with alien situations like this. Kind of how that
might also be still feeling the effects of that puff in his face, like he might have a headache or something.
Yeah, I'm not going to give him that credit because that was not established at all.
Snoopy McQueen, $2. The guy who plays the Doctor is horrible. He's not, though.
Oh.
Snoopy, if you're just gonna... Man, I don't know why you hate this episode so much.
Well, it's funny. Snoopy says that, and then he fates the guy who played the Doctor is amazing.
Yes, I think he is, too.
Well, I just wish his writing was a bit better. I think he delivers it well, but it's the same sort of thing for 30 minutes. I wish he shifted more into more the King quicker.
Yeah.
Or had more fun with it quicker, because he kind of plays in the same way for a good 30 minutes.
Devo77X says, who would have been the jester? Sam Kirk. I would have loved to have seen Sam Kirk come in and like trip over himself.
With a bigger mustache. Like
it twirled up.
Yeah, that would have been fun. But what's great about this scene is that Ortega's instantly stands out as being sort of the standout with the banter between the two of them. Obviously, the cape move is funny, is legitimately a fun thing, because there's a rivalry vibe. It's not aggression, but it's a good balance they strive here. And she looks phenomenal in the outfit, really suits her, and I kind of, come back in that outfit, because it suits you well.
I love the wine tasting.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd the wine come from? From the carafe? Right beside it. That's just so good.
Mm-hmm. Like that, it's sort of filler, because of all the things in the episode that you could easily cut without any impact. but it's good for Ortega's. Although I kind of wish that it had been a poison subplot, as in, I smell poison, throw it away. Damn, the queen lady is trying to kill my king. Like, I wish there'd been something with that, because it kind of feels like it was a setup. It isn't, obviously, but small thing with that.
All right, my photo thing took a shit here, so hold on a second.
Fair enough. Now, one other thing I really wish they'd done in this episode, and I said this in our other review, I wish they'd found the knowing line between the fiction and the reality. What I mean by that is, you think as the audience, oh, this is the Enterprise turned into a fantasy world. And yet, M'Benga says still use all the systems flawlessly, so there is a full Enterprise underneath this, so it's a surface level change. However, the officers who have been converted know how to use all of the movement-based devices, so the turbolifts, Jeffries tubes, everything's fine, but they don't know how to use the actual tech, even though it's by definition the same thing. I wish they'd have a much more creative line, and this is the one moment you get that, saying the Oracle, or the computer didn't speak. I wish they knew what a phaser was, a tricorder, but in their own magic language. So he says, I want to use my tricorder, and she says, what, the mystic box of health? Yes, that, hands him a tricorder. And you could have a lot of fun with that, because then they could have used phasers, they could have used tactical gear, they could have used rifles, and had a, dragon's breath, and it's a flamethrower,
But those things aren't in the story, so that wouldn't work.
Well, neither's a turbolift. I mean, so it's, you know what I mean. Neither's a different. I just wish they had pushed that line further and had more fun with it. I think that's one of the few things that I was certainly wondering first time. What the hell's happening? Is any of this real? Is it not real? Do I connect to any of this stuff? I don't know. The fact that it uses the tech is confusing. So I kind of wish they'd gone to full fun degree. They don't. But at least we get the working noise by the computer. Without her saying working, but we get the working noise, which I thought was a nice usage. But yeah, do you guys agree with me? A bit more the fun, the mystic? Better than me. Hi,
Ozzy throws in $2. You going say that think. You going say that think.
Okay.
Chuck Jones, $5.
Hi, Chuck.
IMDb lists the second helmsman as Jenna Mitchell. Some relation to Gary Mitchell, or just an Easter egg reference. Easter egg reference would be my guess, but...
Cool. Oh, Michael has an interesting comment. Anson Mount is a tremendous actor. This is the first time I'd hate his performance. He constantly outstaged his co-stars, very selfish. For what? A performance befitting a Saturday morning cartoon. He does kind of steal the moments he's in fairness, but that's because M'Benga's playing it so minimal that he's easy to upstage because everyone else is playing so big. But it's not an ensemble piece. They all get to swap who takes the fun lead, who's chewing the scenery. So I'm fine with it. I think it works tremendously well. Yeah. Ooh, tricorders, Oracle's box. Yes. Perfect.
Okay, I still don't have...
Oh, sorry.
My computer's having a bit of a problem right now.
Need to restart?
I do.
Okay, well, I will discuss the next scene, and I will see you in a longing minute, Stuart.
Let's discuss the mystic fog.
I will, Stuart, I will.
Okay, cool.
What a tangent. Yes. Alright, bye-bye, Stuart.
See you in a minute.
Bring me in here. Hello. Hello, hello. Yes. So we get this view screen moment as M'Benga wants to understand what's happening, and they do understand that their kingdom is taken by a fog. Great shot view screen, just something about the imagery works well for me. But he says he has to go to sickbay. To wit, everyone's like, what are you on about? And for some reason they all let him go. I kind of the vibe you should probably bring some guards, especially if the Queen is doing some negative stuff. But hey, it's their this is their part of the kingdom, so I guess it's safe. Yeah, fun rivalry. It's a fine balance. So you guys vote in the poll, and yes, Devereaux, they did commit to the bit. Yes, everyone went for it as well. Yes, it was so silly it became good. Yes, it kind of... I just wish I understood a bit more early on what was happening, but that only works the first time. Second time, it's fine. Vote in the poll, guys. Yeah, no, NZ Fade, the rest is phenomenal. I always appreciate, based on my Stargate experience, when costume departments want to go the extra mile just because they want to be high quality. And these costumes, you can tell, they just put all of the stuff in. And they're phenomenal quality. But guys, vote in the poll. What do you think? Or do you like episode 8? Yeah. So he gets unnecessary Firefly moment. I like it. I dig it. Nice CGI Firefly. As he finds his sick bay with Nurse Chapel in a really cool sort of outfit. A good look for her. She's playing Mystic. She's playing whatever. It's kind of not quite clear what she's doing. She doesn't kind of look like a witch. Is the kind of vibe she gives off slightly. But she picks up on his feelings. And this is a nice little chemistry between the two of them. She tries to work out the modernistic language. That was fun. Great set design. The nice gentle orange lighting. The smoke. It's kind of Mystic. No, it works. And it's just kind of another of those introduction scenes. But she gets her time to shine, and she shines. And all he can work out, because everything still works flawlessly. Although if it's a hallucination, that would be part of it. It's just dopamine. It's just their brains are just a bit too active. Although you could also argue that he probably should have scanned their clothing material, because is it real? Is it replicated? Yes, the more fairy tale than Game of Thrones. Witch Doctor, yeah, a little bit too nice for that though, potentially. But no, she does a good job with this performance. I loved her reacting to the scanner. That was a fun. But yes, again, wrong around. Some way they're holding it the wrong around every single time. It's weird. But yeah, great costumes. Tickets comes in. Phenomenal looking shoulder pad things. And the princess is here. With a definitely walk through the smoke sort of. I mean, I assume this took a while to set up lighting wise and stuff, because there's a great little shot of. Let's up the smoke by 50% so she can wave through it and move it all in. And she's almost the cliche princess, but she has a certain charm to her that kind of keeps it going. Rose, yes, with episode 8, we've done all 8 previously. Go back and watch them. We'll do all 10, and then do a retrospective as well. Weird. But yes, I'm gonna end the poll until it gets back. So keep voting. What do you think? And you guys dog lovers. NZ Fade, how much would those plants, candles, costumes have cost them? Thousands, just dress up the show. Well, you say that, but you build one set that costs $80,000. You know, remember that one with the egg, and that would have cost $150,000, $200,000 to make that set. Just the middle bit would have been, you know, and I say make as in set up as well. You know, this middle bit would cost $50K minimum. So, you know, sets cost lots of money, and yes, if you this is actually a cheaper episode, the cost is obviously in the costumes, everything else is relatively cheap. So yeah, they have a certain amount of budget each episode, and to redress the Enterprise is the point. And they recur they recur multiple times throughout the episode, so you do get, you know, you always think of how many minutes per how many minutes of screen time these things get, because if you can justify 2 scenes, 3 scenes, then obviously you can do more to the sets, and that's why bottle shows can work super well, because you get to have well, we've got 8 minutes of screen time out of 50. We can afford to put, you know, $8,000 in, etc. But also, yes, how much stuff is already going to be in the area. COVID restrictions apply. There's not as many things shooting. They might have had stuff available. I'm owned by a cat. Yeah, I'm not really either pet person. Just kill my webcam so we can use this one.
Well, that took longer than it should have.
And that's Stuart's room. How good does it look?
You don't have to point it out.
Yes, we're at the dog.
Yes. So we already talked about dopamine levels.
Mm-hmm. I loved her reaction of the... That's fun.
Yes, the dog. She has a dog. Sorry, it's kind of killed my mojo. I gotta find the point where we're at. Yeah, let's see here. I love how he scans the dog too. She also has increased dopamine levels, and she's like, "Is that good? Bad? Bad? Good?" It's kind of fun. But there's talk of the Mercury Stone here, and how is his little device another kind of magical stone? Oh, you've got so many magical things. Nice little touch for the scanner, the sensor. Chuck Jones, $5. IMDb lists the second helmsman as Gina. Oh, I read that one already. Never mind. I thought we got new super chats. Guess not. It was not a Windows update, no. And yes, Tronic, that really is her dog, yes. Andre Benson, $5. I like the episode. Good way to finish the Doctor's storyline. Towards the end, it reminded me more of the TNG episode with the imaginary child. Oh, good God, yes. But not as creepy and weird.
So, any thoughts on this scene and the fun of the princess?
Just love seeing Lon play this character. I'm not the biggest fan of Lon.
This isn't Lon, so.
Oh, exactly.
Not her at all.
But it was fun to see her playing this kind of fun-loving character. And
I kind of wish she was more this cute normally, because she's so real, which works for me, but makes me want to see the actress in more things.
Yeah, her hair down is nice, but I wish she was lighten up a little bit as La'an.
Which does show the range, because most other people played a similar version, like within the range of their other character. She played exact opposites, so she had the most oomph here. And in second viewing, this scene works a lot better because all they talk about the stone and that stuff now all makes sense second time. First time you're barely able to keep it in. So I like his sort of bluffing here. It's the least convincing bluffing, but this is his kingdom. He's king. You're not going to question him. So it kind of works in that regard. And I absolutely adore first the double scan of the Lan, but also the nurse being like dopamine, trying to say it. I thought that was a beautiful little cute. That felt like an improv on the day. She's just like dopamine's like yes, like it's so cute and real. I thought it was a good moment.
Mm-hmm. And then Hemmer complaining that I'm your superior officer, unhand me. And Mbenga's like, huh? That was just great.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, there you have the scar.
You wear wizard's robes. These just appeared on me, as would a wizard's robes.
And interestingly, for some reason, this Helms lady has a scar on her eye, which Ortega's crashed and had a problem with her face. So why has she got a scar on her face?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. Although, given it's been at least like... Oh, sorry.
So wouldn't Pike's last memory of Ortega's injury? Did she not sustain a traumatic head injury? I wouldn't say traumatic, but is there any reason to believe she isn't suffering from a brain bleed? It's never answered, unfortunately, but... Sean O'Sullivan, €2. Write the words, brother Benny. It's real.
Yes. Yeah. But no, I again, you're trying to learn as you go. This is every corridor is the forest, and this is the neutral territory. But he's at this point knowledgeable enough to say, I have read the book 15 times, my daughter. I'll use the law, and they're like, yeah, no.
I love. Well, in a second, you're going to see the kingdom is the shape of the Enterprise, which is awesome. But yeah, we hear that Queen Nev is the baddie. Yeah, Queen Nev is the baddie. Love how because I had to turn off my computer, he's got to go, so that I can deal with you people myself. Oi. Queen Nev is the baddie, and they're dragging off Hemmer, who is actually Castor, the wizard, to the dungeon, and that they no longer acknowledge the neutrality of the forest. The forest is not the neutral zone, is what we're saying. Speaking of, guys, 78 people here, 60 likes. Hit that like button. Keep the super chats coming. They're awesome today, guys. Go vote in the poll. Do all that fun stuff. Lots of ways to participate if you don't have the ability to super chat. If you can help us out. And, yeah. Please let us know what you think. The scar probably matches the look of the leader of the Crimson Guard. Possibly. Didn't see a picture of her from the book. I don't know if the book from the book. I don't think. Pike calls it a medical emergency. I'd say it's grounds for a traumatic. Not necessarily. He's a captain, not a doctor. He doesn't. She fell and she's not getting up, so that's an emergency. Doesn't mean it's traumatic necessarily. So kind of disagree there, and don't really care. It's such a small minor point. Furious Fawns, don't you understand? It's real. It's real in here. They can't take my ideas. Yes, this is true. It's a nice little touch to have him be the author. So can't really talk about much more now. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait for Samuel. But thank you guys for doing all you do. But please hit that like button. Still at 64 likes. Want to get up to 75. It'd be super easy. Don't forget to click that join button to see if you want to join the channel as well. Dude, she's knocked unconscious. It's not a scratch. Yeah, I don't care. Don't know why you keep harping on it. And we don't. It was literally for a minute. We didn't know how bad it was, and it never gets answered. Unfortunately, she could have been on her way to standing up. Who knows? But anyway. Yeah, there's no real urgency with the. Well, there is urgency with the daughter sickness, but there's no clarification. You need a ticking talk. You need a ticking talk. You need a ticking clock, and an actual set. Deadline on that, instead of just generalities. So, and then Mbango just basically admits he doesn't have the Mercury Stone, but that guy Castor that just got pulled away, yeah, he can help me find it. He knows where it is.
Yeah, everyone's
Which is just his play of saying, he's the only one that knows that this isn't right. He can help me. So
yeah, it's funny how they're like, oh, okay, but there is a certain element of they're following the narrative as well. So the fact is that when you hear the start of the episode, there is a certain level of this is the story that we see, and I kind of wish they'd actually gone full blown in that first scene to have him literally read out the story of the story. And then they're living the story. Because it does diverge at a certain point. That would have been kind of funny. Oh, hi, Steve. But yes, going to go find him. And I like how not Lan's like, oh, good idea. Yep. But yes, then one of the best visuals, which they really should show more than once. Because this is such a phenomenal visual that I will brighten and enhance.
Yes, the Kingdom of Elysian, which is the Enterprise. I love how the dungeon is down in the secondary hull, which is accurate because Uhura is basically in the cargo bag.
Well, you can see the castle, so above that's the prison.
I would assume that's the dungeon, yeah, which we would. But that being said, the prison they were in was the transporter room, which is in the saucer, so...
Oh
well.
I mean, there might be a transporter room in the secondary hull.
There might be, but it's the same one we've seen constantly. So,
but this was an unnecessary detail. I really wish they'd lingered on it, but that's just great. Because I wish they'd made it is sort of what we assume clear, but I wish they had made a point of saying this section is their kingdom, and then Banks says the secondary hull. Yes, the secondum hullus, and we're here, the saucer. Yes. Like, I wish they had made that fun of it. Like, we know. Oh, can you imagine if they'd sauce separated to make it, like, rebelling from their kingdoms? Because all the force are on one. I mean, sorry. Small thing.
Yes, but they decide here that diplomacy is the way to go. We're going to go try to get him out. And it tells Lon to stay here. And she's like, oh, that's a good idea. If you die, I'll sing a song of mourning. Gotta say, she's got a very impressive set of lungs. So,
yeah. I find it a little bit funny, though, the idea of diplomacy, given that you're going into the heart of their kingdom. I mean, is it diplomacy if you're trespassing? No, you're not diplomacying by going to the colonial neutral zone. You're active warring. And you weren't going to talk to the Queen. You were there to go around the Queen, and they take to the Queen because you don't know it. So, but I think he knows he has to get captured so that he can go to the brig with the person. I think that's implied, especially in the next scene. So I assume this is plan here, because otherwise, there isn't really a plan here. But he has to kind of work with them. What do you think?
Yeah, that's absolutely his plan. He kind of says that in the next scene with Hammer.
Yeah, I don't know when he,
I love the back and forth between Ortegas and Pike, though. Even later when she steps towards him and he scrambles away, and the whole Starfall for sword knife. That's a stupid name for a sword. You're stupid.
And do you want to read out Rose's comment?
Hey, just commenting. Does that help your channel as well? I just want to say a big thank you. Yes, commenting definitely helps. So join the conversation.
Yes, saying
Tom
anything
Casey,
is important.
$2 just got here, and I like this episode.
And I'm
awesome.
sure he likes science too.
Sure.
Yes. But yeah, seriously, guys, if you ever think, is it worth, what can I do if I can't put in super chats? Just go into our video, maybe our spoiler review right now, and just comment saying what you think of the episode. Because commenting makes our algorithm think it's worth watching. So if you go, we've got 18 comments right now on today's spoiler review. I would love for you guys to, some of you, to go right, because obviously you've got an account because you're commenting here. So go post some comments on that video which came out today. Your thoughts, maybe out of 10 for the episode as well, and I can maybe read those comments out at the end of the video. I'll keep that tab live. So it's kind of like a free super chat in a sense. That might help our algorithm. Who knows? So yeah, go comment. 18 so far in the breakdown that was released earlier today. It's a challenge, too. It's a challenge.
And also hit like. That's another great way to help us out.
That is a very easy way, yes. On any video, like even if you want to go back and 20 or 30 videos from the past, that would actually kind of help.
Yeah.
It's useful.
Then we get introduced to Pollux, the wizard, who is actually Spock. And a lot of people were complaining, well, Spock's telepathic. Why didn't he block it out? Well, this is a younger
In that
Spock.
voice as well, Stuart? Was that the voice they all said?
Yes, that's when I read it, when I was reading the comments, yes, that's how they sounded.
Okay.
Basically, because he's still a young Vulcan, he's only half human, or he's only half Vulcan as well. He hasn't quite mastered that ability, and we see that progress during, through TOS even. Being able to control mind melds a little bit better. He's not the best at it initially. So I have no problem with that. If he didn't realize something was creeping into his consciousness, I think it's fine. So anyway, get introduced to him and find out that he's Castor's brother.
Yeah, see, I have no problem with that because he's nowhere near as strong by an absolute mile as Hemmer.
Exactly.
Not even close. Spock doesn't use telepathy for anything. Sort of actively hides it in the abstract because Vulcans aren't really using that actively, whereas Hemmer's one of his big
Vulcans
things.
Vulcans are more touch telepaths as well.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if he's going to have any magic powers. Well, I thought he was going to have. That's my disappointment. They didn't do anything in the episode magic-y because I was kind of hoping something. Which is why if they knew how to use the ship, then he could have done magic based on the ship because he was Spock still. So but I mean Spock does get the short end of the stick in this episode. If you look at per person episode content, he kind of gets pretty much bottom of the barrel amount to do. But they'll have to have that to do because Hemmer obviously gets more and Benga gets more. Number one and him kind of get the bottom ring. But he looks phenomenal. I'm sure he appreciated not having to, shave that day. Shaving does suck sometimes. But yeah, it's a bit of a...
No, go ahead.
Right, it's a bit of a plain scene.
Yeah. I love how he says, how do you know that Castor's my brother? I read it in a book.
Which is a fair answer. I mean, someone could have written it down.
Yeah.
This is one of the few problems of this episode is that if every time it's in the corridor, it's the same look, with the same people in the same costumes, the same lighting, there's a certain dullness of... That's why I think the middle is a bit more boring, because certain scenes are just visually 100% repetitive. Sort of by design, But, you know, you couldn't do much about that. I'm not complaining per se, just, you know, of course.
General Grievous, $2. Spock looks like Inigo Montoya from Princess Bride. Yes.
He should do this at conventions. And see, this is funny. This is like emo Spock done right.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Furious Fawns, $2. Hammer is Betazoid level, way beyond Vulcans. Yes. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, the Enar can control a ship from across the quadrant.
Yeah.
A Vulcan can sort of maybe touch a mine if they're trained. That's a bit of a difference.
But they make a deal with Pollux here to lead them around or through the swamp, but he says to go bypass it to help his brother. And he's like, okay, well. And this is where M'Benga knows he's going to be betrayed. And so, you know, he still goes along with it. They even say, can we trust him? I know we can't trust him. Yes, my liege. So, yeah, he knows that and it's the best way to get to Hammer. It's the fastest way. So,
yeah, if you don't know what's going on and you still have access to the ship, you might as well.
Yeah.
My only issue here contextually is that if the only way of getting to the kingdom is through a swamp, how are they getting to you? Through the swamp, in which case it can be moved through. They didn't say in dialogue the only way to get through without being detected is through the swamp. They should have said all through the portcullis. There's a slight disconnect of dialogue there, but he's also lying the whole time. Who's to say? But I love the Jeffries tube. Like we loved it last week, and twice in a row, and it looks fantastic, and it's so obvious. And M'Benga would know this. Like, well, I can get her in the ship as well if I want to sneakily. You know, how many of these medieval versions of my friends know how to use Jeffries tube? Like, he even plays it as a secret, so like he could go anywhere on the ship very easily. That's not the challenge here. The challenge here is to get it back to what it is, not to survive. You know, like he could get a phaser and just live. It's about everything else, though.
Yeah.
I do think that next cut's a bit hard, though, going straight from being, yes, we're going to a safety tube, boom, here's the Queen. It's like, oh, that was a bit abrupt. I think needed one more scene of duplicity before the abruptness of, and now the Queen's got you. Small thing, but
we get introduced to the Ice Witch or the White Witch from Narnia, essentially. And, yeah.
With the best shoulder pads ever. And they have got absolute...
Shoulder pads, that's what I'm looking at, yes.
And they've got an absolute hard-on for putting her behind that circle. Like, they use that visual often, but it is, like, movie-level. Whatever reason, it works. And I love the little, like... Because you're always looking at lighting. The fact that she's got little diamonds on her eyelids reflects light, so you see the speck of all these things. It really, really works well. And as such a young actress who's playing Uhura, I mean, talk about from the lowest ranking cadet to highest ranking person in the story. I mean, to acting different, although somewhat similar to this version of Uhura, because Uhura is very confident in this version, but obviously more mean. But I love the transition of lowest to highest in the story.
Yeah, and this is the whole. Yeah, I kind of expected her gonna. I kind of had an idea this was gonna happen. Just go with it, essentially.
I think there's probably a reason why he doesn't reiterate too many times it happened in the story. Because if he said it anymore, then you would know he's just going autopilot, which would take out the tension of what's happening. Because if he knew he's going to betray him, there's no twist. But that's kind of what he says here is, well, I knew this was part of the story. So, hard balance when you kind of get out of jail free card. And guys, Stuart, do you have a super chat and like goal for the next sort of half an hour?
Oh, we still haven't hit my like goal of 75, so hit that like button, guys. It's now bumped up to 80. Let's do 80. And keep the super chats coming. We need another $80 is a kind of a minimum. So if you have any thoughts, let us know. Throw it in with a super chat. We do read them all on the air, and we want your voice to be heard. So
yes. And as I said, I asked for some more comments on our Star Trek Strange New Worlds edited review. We've now got 21 comments from 18, so go down and comment on that as well. Click like on it. It'll help the analytics push forward, so I want to see a few more comments on that video before we end this live. I'll read them out at the end.
But we get to prison, which is the transporter room. And I love how calm Hammer is about all this. Just like, what's going on? Get the explanation that it's a children's story that he's been reading his daughter. Long story. What, the long story about your daughter, or the long story is the book of the long story? um, anyway, why weren't you affected? And here we find out that Hammer sensed the thing coming in, and it was very painful. Essentially, felt like his brain was being pulled through his nose. And Ortega says, like, I did that to a man once, and the reaction from Pike was just epic. Yeah, it's a fun little thing. And then he pulls out his little tool, which looks exactly like a magic wand, which is amazing. And he's instantly into it. He instantly knows what has to be done, and he's just... I loved Hammer in this episode. I thought he was very well done.
Well, he wasn't the curmudgeon. He was almost an entirely different character.
Yeah.
But, you know, taking the world and changing it, let's be fun. Now, this I thought was a really fun scene. The visual really worked of the bars in the transporter room. For whatever reason, that worked stupidly well. And Pike freaking out was funny, and
his powerful magic called science. It's great.
No, this scene worked really well, and it is just a very boring conversation, like the way it's framed once they're in there. But something about it just kind of works, and it is good for him for always having a magic wand of sonic laser. Kind of would have been nice if the guards had searched him, because you shouldn't let a wizard have anything on him. You know, like Gandalf and all his pockets, he's all his trinkets. They'll do things, but and obviously got the will that blind you? No. Magic.
I'm a wizard.
Because I'm blind. Which is that's a nice nod to the it. And just so simple, yeah.
Yeah. What would a wizard say? Abracadabra?
Yeah.
I like it.
And Ortega's liking science just does work here. Something about it. Although I will say, because now Ortega's finally standing up in her scenes versus sitting down, she's extremely small.
She is.
Every officer towers above her to the point of... I mean, I saw us, almost a head higher. And certainly when we get number one pop in, it's like, my goodness, you represent two ends of the spectrum right here. Like, how far women can be different is astounding. She has so much charisma for that stature. Pulls off super well. But I didn't realise the height difference.
So then Queen Nev gets the report that they've escaped by way of magic.
Which is a bit obvious would happen. Come on.
Oh yeah, it's a kid's story though. So.
Wow. Yeah, but
I am Misi throws in $10. Love this episode. The actors seem to be having a blast. Absolutely, yes.
Yes, but you can feel it. Especially Pike. He's like, oh, I only have 35 lines and they're all fun. Got it. Got 2 days of filming this week. Time off. Although in fairness, time off means in the hotel not working because it was COVID. So they were locked. They actually wanted to be on set doing lines because they were always locked in their hotel rooms otherwise. So
yeah. And then we get one of the absolute worst sword fight sequences ever. It's so slow and lazy. But hey, it's fine. They're just not proficient with swords. It kind of shows. Especially how... I love how she says, you're unarmed. I've armed myself. And then she defeats the one guy and has her back turned. And it's like just... It's lazy sword fighting, unfortunately. But hey, it's fine.
Yeah, I thought the disarm arm thing was a genius line.
Yeah.
I thought that was just really fun. She sells it super well.
And then Pike asks, it'll be safer in the castle. And he's, yes. So he runs. Thank you, sire. And Hammer's like, really?
And I couldn't hear if he actually gave him permission or not, but he did.
He did, yeah.
So it's very, very subtle.
Yeah.
But I liked that. I kind of wish he didn't get captured later on, personally, but that's okay.
And then we hear the and I guess some Enterprise crew members get killed. My thinking is that after the fantasy, everybody gets restored to full health. Like Ortegas would just be fine. She wouldn't have the head injury.
Oh, everyone's fine. Yeah, there's no stakes there. No, not at all.
I mean, when the ones that get taken down by the darts or the arrows.
Yeah, there's stakes there. I didn't
Yeah.
think for a second anyone's going to get injured. No, it's not that sort of story.
Yeah.
I love the sound effect of the arrows, but I thought they're very, very slow.
Yeah.
Like, you could feel them flying versus... So I was kind of like, they felt very CG, but also they sound amazing. Yeah.
Zymera the Huntress shows up. Don't worry, she's an ally.
What a name. Zymera the Huntress, and she also pulls off her costume very well. But very similar to number 1, just more stabby sharpy. And I did get...
Well, she even says, "I saved your life." That's something, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think Una said that something similar to that a few times. That's something, right?
Yeah, it's just working more their mannerisms. And I did get the slight sexual tension here. The very subtext, and I was right, so yay for me for noting their performances. Although, boy, lots of eyeshadow for persons in woods. A lot of makeup to do for just eyeshadow, yeah. And the engineering, for some reason, always entirely unaffected for some reason. Don't know why this room is entirely except one banner.
But yeah, they scan the nebula and find evidence of a single life form, including brain activity, but no physical body. And then they talk about the Boltzmann Brain, which is something that the doctor had heard about. But it's basically that spontaneously generated consciousness. And this could be what the God creature is in Star Trek V. You know, like many creatures in Star Trek could be this. But it's great. Great explanation. So just appears out of nowhere, basically.
And have you heard of this thing before?
Nope.
No, I didn't either. No, I dug it as a unexpected concept. And unlike Orville, which is kind of relying on tropes a bit more, Stranger Worlds is kind of feel like they're throwing in more new ideas. This is like okay, cool, sort of thing. So I dug it.
And this is where the two of them are fighting, Ortegas and Una, and Hemmer's like, maybe it's your differences that drew you together. And Mbenga's like, wait a minute, this isn't right. You two never met in the story. This is where he puts two and two together, that it's his kid, because she never liked that part of the story and always wanted those two to team up. So I kind of like the revelation here. Thought it was well done. So
yeah, I think it is needed, and I was certainly wondering where we're going. This is like, that's actually a twist. That's actually something that we kind of needed. And again, we don't need at all this love subtext thing. I don't know if it's hinting for the real life them. I can't imagine it is, but
I don't think so.
I mean, why include it except to give them something more to do? But they had strong personalities by themselves.
Yeah.
But again, the height difference is just astounding. Just like, wow.
Yeah.
But yes, we found a solution. And it's all about the daughter. Let's go find the daughter. And Hemmer's even like, because he doesn't know what the hell he's on about. You can't have your daughter, so he's a bit aggressive here, which I kind of like. It's like, what the? Let's just go find it. It's like, well, yeah, you wouldn't be happy because if the stowaway daughter you're not allowed to have is causing harm to our entire crew, that's on you, mate. You're possibly killing our crew right now. But they go to the pattern buffer, and the not knowing people sit and watch while he does magic. But no, she's at the pattern buffer with no sign. Dum.
Well, she was. I do like that they said she was beamed somewhere on the ship, because I thought, was she beamed out into space, much like Picard in what is the episode Only the Lonely, or The Lonely Among Us, whatever it is, where he beams himself into the nebula. But no, she was beamed somewhere on the ship. There's just no exact coordinates. And Hemmer's like, where would your daughter want to go? And in the previous conversation, she said, will I get to see your quarters someday, Daddy? He's like, no, I'll show you the whole ship. So.
Well, we're going to finish the poll, though, with 155 votes. I asked, do you like episode 8? The winner is 66% yes. No has now got second place at 18% and meh at 15%. So there you go, Stuart.
Very nice. You got a new poll idea? Cool. And, of course, we have Spock, or little interloper there, that overhears all this and discerns that the Mercury Stone is, in fact, the girl. And he goes and tells Queen Reva, or Reeve, whatever her name was. 82 likes now. That's awesome. We hit that 80 like goal. Hit like if you haven't yet, though. I want to get to 100. 100's the next one. Keep the super chats coming, and don't forget to click that join button and maybe join the channel. Those also make a huge difference in the analytics and stuff. So, yes, sir. All right. Oh yes, and then this is when they pull in Pike, and basically he's like, "No, don't. I'm too young to die. Spare me." And she's like, "Well, that depends on you whether you want to join me. Or all I ask is your loyalty." And he's like, "Oh yeah, in that case, yeah, we're fine." So against character. Let's see.
Okay, read out the poll, Stuart, when you see it. And yes, Spock is the man of the faces this week. He's always being cut to be like, Very few lines, but a lot of face acting.
Who was the best in this episode? Or in this alternate performance this week? Princess La'an, King M'Banga, Swordsman Ortegas, or Not Coward Servant Pike?
I think that's fair. I like to have fun with my my titles. But yes, I liked the Pike thing. It was a fun, unnecessary moment. And it's hard to work out if there's any sort of negativity there. If he's portraying them out of being a bastard, but I think it's more of a. I mean, I'm not being mean or anything. It's all good. You know, it's fine. Like he would jump back if he had the chance. Although in fairness, if he's offering him the entire castle, that's quite ambitious. You know, how can you match that? Obviously, he's not going to give his kingdom.
Yes. Well, the next scene, there's a little bit of an editing gaffe that bothers me. You see Chapel stirring this cauldron, and the next scene is this hideous hand reaching for a communicator, and I thought, is that her hand? Oh my god. But no, it's Hemmer's hand. It's just a weird editing choice to do it the way they did. But anyway, he grabs the communicator and starts playing with it, which comes in important later.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that editing. I just thought, damn, it's a sexy fucking communicator. Because that looks so good. Like, Stuart, as if that's not a visual reboot at all. That's just a communicator, but slightly thinner. Mm-hmm. What did I say from day one? You take the original design and you sleek it out internally.
We've all been saying that.
This is perfect. Like, it's better than the original in some ways. It's a little bit too thin, but it's just sexy. Like, they just did it. But yes, gay communicator.
But they figure out that she's in his quarters, so they head to his quarters. Now they run into Pike, who's like, basically, how would my death help you? You know, whatever. And then they open the door, which doesn't make any sense because the daughter would say something. But anyway, the door opens.
Yes, that is definitely a plot holey moment for sure. And also shows automatically when he walks up to it. You shouldn't have to say open as well. Just saying. The whole yeah.
Well, unless it's locked and it's voice coded, it is because it's his personal quarters. Not a big deal. Anyway, yeah, Pike puts a knife to his throat, and this seems fantastic. The Queen Nev shows up. And I love how Hemmer's like, I will send you to the event horizon, place of monsters, and Pollux is like, there's no such place. And then you get Hemmer doing all the hand things, and then M'Banga's like, what are you doing? And Hemmer's like, just a sec. And then he pulls up the communicator and they all beam away. Awesome. That's magic, baby. The magic of science. Too much? Yeah.
But not just that. M'Benga also gets to be, alright, because now his daughter's involved properly, he actually has a strength of will. Every other scene he's been pretty lackluster. This one he's like, now I threaten you. And it's obviously over the top acting, but it's meant to be. But not Uhura has a lot of eyebrow acting of like I'm genuinely scared of you there. And then like, what on about Hemmer? It's good, it works very well in the context. And yes, the fact that Hemmer's having so much fun is, I don't know what he's been smoking, because boy, he's having fun with this. And yes, what a great. I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could be that precise with a, because a communicator. He pressed a button.
Yeah, I know.
How did he tell it who to beam, where to beam? Wouldn't it beam everyone else? I mean, is it just anyone in front of me gets beamed? Well, how far? Because
I wish he was like. I wish he was playing with the communicator instead of doing the hand signs. The hand sounds are so funny, but I wish he was like as he's saying things.
Yeah, because how was it? Because he didn't know they were going to be here. So how did he auto target them?
Yeah, and he also didn't know how many people. Unless he set it for a range of like a 20-foot radius, kind of like D&D.
Yeah.
You just cast your spell in a 20-foot radius.
But then why weren't they beamed?
Because they weren't in the middle of the 20-foot radius. He set the
20 foot
like
in front of them then.
20 feet away, and a circle of 20 feet around them, so that anybody in that circle would be beamed away.
Okay, then I wish they'd done a small thing whereby he says, "My king, yes, come back." Yes, 5 paces. What?
Yes, yeah.
That would have been instant fix. Perfect.
Yep.
Very small thing, but yes. And these are very small things. Just how they would have improved in my brain. It's all good. No, and then so ends the fun, with a very very easy. They've all been beamed away. Like that is the entire resolution. Then and there, boom, done. Now we're cutting. Now we end that plot line. It's a little bit abrupt, and even though Ortega's just saying, like that's the end of her storyline in this. It's like defend me with my life, and that's throughout the story. I kind of wish there was a more fun moment with her, like a more powerful little last line, or something, because that is the end of the entire fun bit. But,
And Species 1571 says, did they have site-to-site transport in this era? They did, but it was extremely dangerous to do. They make a point of saying that in TOS. Site-to-site transport is extremely dangerous intra-ship because there's no transport emitters facing it inside the ship.
Unless you're Discovery, in which case you can do it easily.
Yes.
So they can, should, would, but they're played as if they're nothing here. They always have in the new Trek. They don't understand the danger.
So yes, they do have it, and they did have it in TOS, but it was extremely dangerous to do and not recommended to try.
I think they did it once. They talked about it once, They did it once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Matt Boardman, $5.
Yes.
The answer is the transporter works as you need it to for the episode, so you can tell the story. Yes, there's also that. Yes.
I just like making these things make sense. Because it's so close to... And it could have been a funny joke. Or like, he gets a bing bing on the pad, say, I need to go back one step further.
I wish it wasn't a communicator. I wish he kept the pad that he was holding. Because he picked up the communicator, flipped it open, and then walked over to Mbonga with the pad. If he had both the pad in one arm, kind of like a wizard would hold like his spell book, and then had the communicator as the activator, would have been better, because then he could have like beep 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 on the pad, selected everybody, and then used the communicator to initiate it.
I prefer the communicator, the simplicity of it. But I know what you mean. I get you, but I like just one.
But then, Daddy, you made it. I've been playing with my friend. I saw you. Were you having fun? And he scans her. She doesn't have any sign of the illness, and he doesn't understand. They show the scanner coming out of the bottom of the tricorder. Nice touch.
Which we were wondering where, how, and who. Beautiful.
And he holds that scanner the correct way, for the record.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Oh my god, he finds us one. Oh,
Yep.
I guess in theory that's maybe because that's the tricorder one. Every other one is the non-tricorder based one. Maybe that's the logic.
Yeah, the ones in sickbay are a lot bigger.
And also, well, no, yeah, because it's different. Because they do have the spinning thing. We've seen it, but this one's black on the casing. So this one is specifically the tricorder one. The other one is a different one. Okay.
And Zango76 says, wasn't site to site transported to the transporter room, site to base? No, he said they've been transported to the cargo bay.
Yep.
They didn't get transported to the prison in the transporter room. They got transported to the...
So
actually, that would have made a lot more sense. I beamed them to the prison or the transporter room, you should have said. That would have made a lot more sense, because that's why the pads are there.
And also, you could have had a really funny thing where they beam in. Like, I was expecting a cutaway of them being like, "Oh, not again," says Pike. Because he's in prison again. That said, if no one fixed the bars, then it would be escapable.
And that would have been a great thing for Pollux, who just said that there's no such place that exists. And then for the magic to happen like that, him to say, fascinating.
Yes.
Something like that.
Or, in the same thing, he comes in and says, Pike says, "Whoa, not this again. Pollux, can you escape like Hema did?" And it's like, "How do you escape?" "With a wand." "I have no wand." well, some wizard you are, and then
Yeah.
because he's not really.
We
magic,
always
so-
knew Castor was the better of the wizards or something.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. That because but we want to cut to this, important stuff, so it makes sense. But she's a fantastic little Disney princess sort of costume. I do feel like it's super underplayed, like really underplayed her being free of infection. I would think if my daughter has been dying of an infection for months and she's cured, I would hug her, get really emotional. He stays very, very removed from that. I don't know why.
That's because he says, I don't understand what's happening here.
But I feel like Joy would be too much. He's super bland here. It's not how I would have directed him at all.
Yeah, I kind of disagree though, because he's still like, is this real? Is it gonna last? Because he even says at one point, she says, "Do I have to go back in the buffer?" He says, "I don't know, honestly."
I feel like at least a hug though would have been good, because it comes off so minimal. I mean, put it this way, this is not his daughter. This is not his daughter, and you can tell. This man is, I don't know if he's even a father in real life, no offense. He doesn't really have a great bond with kids as like a father-daughter thing going. It's more of a father-patient thing going, which I'll get into in a little bit. Like, he doesn't, I don't know if the guy actually has kids. I don't necessarily think he does. Don't know. Although I think the kid does a good job in the scene. I think she kind of shines well, which she needs to. It's all about her, so she needs to do well.
He wants to talk to her friend, and she's like, it doesn't really work that way. And Hemmer's like, maybe I can help. I'll allow your friend to speak through me gently.
And boy, what a selfless thing for him to do.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that is good of him.
In the story, he's the one that helped the king. So it all made sense. It was great.
Yeah.
And we get to see his antenna move, which a lot of people complained about, that his antenna don't move. But as we said, the ends of his antenna are blackened. So it could be that they're also disabled because they are sensory organs. He's blind. And maybe, so, but you do see them go up and back down and then back up again when it leaves. So they do move. They have the capability to move. So.
Or at least react to stimuli that's dramatic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very sciencey, this whole bit. I love the colours, I love the lights. Like I say, very nice of Hemmer. Like, really made me like the character a lot more. Him not being this curmudgeon all the time, because he knows it'll be painful and could lose himself in the fantasy very easily. There's no reason to think he wouldn't be, so that was very nice of him. And yes, he communicates. It's very clinical and sciencey, this bit, I think. But again, he's playing a whole scene very to the chest, so he's not acting too much. Yeah,
and I love how the entity says, I scanned your ship and felt her imprisoned in your machine. So it's the sense that the kid's trapped, which the kid has been. And Bonga made a point of that, saying that earlier. Like, she's been in there a lot longer than I anticipated. So it's not fun for this kid. This kid beams out, sits there for a few minutes, gets a story read to her, says hi to her dad, and then has to go back in. And then the next second later, she's beamed back again. And it's the same thing over and over again. So this kid's having no fun and is essentially imprisoned, not only in sickbay, but in that goddamn chair. So, yeah, when it comes to the decision of what to do, would you want your kid living this life for next month and then being dead? But anyway,
get to that in a second. But I was also back to the kid's imprisonment for a second, which I totally buy as being the context. How is she sleeping? Because if I guess you have.
She's not. You're awake for like 10, 12 hours a day, and if she's only being beamed out for like 10, 12 minutes at a time, there's no need for her to sleep.
What about eating? Well, I mean, she's eating, but I feel like, I don't know. But to say she has less than 12 hours of... Well, if they'd said that, she has 12 hours of life, one sleep cycle, in which case, boy, if he was 12 hours from her dying, then that's the very last minute bringing her onto the ship. You can assume it's more than that, but... I don't know. I always wondered how she's slept. But yes, I healed her. She's doing great now. They want to keep playing, but the fact it's hurting the crew, and Benga's very clear, very concise. And the anomaly, is obviously a young life form. It feels like it's a fresh being. It just wants a friend, someone to hang out with.
Now here's a point they make. It says, if I release the ship and the child goes with you, she will grow sick again. I'm like, okay, cool. That's a reset on her illness. She's going to have another year now, because it's going to eventually, from her being healthy to getting it again. I wish that kind of would have been said. Like, he could have bought more time with her, and that would have made the decision a lot harder. but it's never clarified how much time she actually does have left. It just says she will grow sick again. So if it was a kind of a reset on her illness, so it would still progress the same way, but if she's already had it for 3 years or something, that might be interesting. But
and George just comments on my comment about the sleeping. He says, the same way Scotty slept an 8 in the pattern buffer. Well, no, he went in 1 second, came out the next. It's entirely different. So no, George. No, George. Yeah. I do agree with you to some extent, although I got the sense it would be as soon as I leave, it comes back in like a day, nowhere near an hour. Like, there's no healing. There's just like healing is with me.
Yeah.
The disease is too strong. So 1 day of respite, which in fairness, giving her 1 day of freedom would have been lovely, or 4 months in the pattern buffer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very boomph. Here is your choice. And again, there's no ticking clock either here. And I think you said this previously, that you would have liked to have seen some exteriors or some sense of the ship being fully converted to be actually a forest, actually whatever. So the ship's in danger because there's no apparent critical risk to the crew or the ship, anything. So there's the ticking clock of them deciding how and why to send the daughter off. There's no ticking clock except personal free will.
I wouldn't want exteriors. I wouldn't want like the hallway walls to start fading, and you can actually see a forest, an endless forest, in certain spots. That the longer this is going on, the ship is getting converted into this kingdom. But all interior stuff. I think that would have been awesome.
Way more expensive, obviously, and certainly there's almost no CG here, which I really like. So that would have been not particularly effective, I don't think.
Ayamisi, $10. This
Thank
part
you.
got me pretty hard. Lovely ending. Yes.
Oh, I thought I meant something else there.
But this is where he asks, he says, this might be your time to be able to write your own stories. And he talks about the story, how the Mercury Stone keeps the king safe, makes the king happy. But if he wants to keep
Rose.
it, then he learns the Mercury Stone has a soul, and that it will die if he holds on to it. So he has to make the choice to get rid of it. And then he asks his daughter, "What do you want?" And she says, "I want to stay." Because she has been living kind of a hell. Like, you're reliving the same couple moments over and over and over again. You go in, you come out instantly, according to you. It could be days, but you don't know. And then your dad's there. He says, "Hi, how's it going? How you feeling?" Scan you, read a little bit of a book, and then boom, it starts all over again. It's kind of a hell in a way.
And he's not even telling her that she's ill properly. He's keeping that from her, how big. So she hasn't got the context of why properly, or she's not understanding it. So it's not even like, I know I've only got 10 minutes left to live. It's like, Dad, why? There's just yeah.
And Rose says, "Thanks, Trekyards. Live chat is top chat." Until next time, sending hugs and love and thumbs up. Thank you very much, Rose. Much appreciated.
Come back next time.
We do have a great community that joins us for these lives. Speaking of, guys, hit that like button. We're at 89 likes. I still want to get to 100. Keep the super chats coming. We need at least another $50 if possible. So
yes,
a couple 20s would be awesome. We want to hear your thoughts about this ending specifically. And then we'll get into the scoring of the episode.
So before we debate the return of the daughter, then, what do you think of the choice to let go directly? Let's address that now.
I think it's perfectly acceptable, and I understand why he would do it. Because you don't want to have your, like I said, your kid's basically living through hell, the same moments over and over again, repeatedly, and not being able to do anything she wants to do, or have friends to play with, or even see your quarters, for crying out loud. Like, if it takes that, if the disease progresses that much that you can't walk her to your quarters, which, I mean, nobody can really see her, I guess that's the other thing.
And he can't sight beam to his quarters, so it's just a case he can't get her there. It's not that she couldn't be there.
So I think the decision to let her decide, first of all, was a great idea, because she's been having fun. As a parent, I totally understand why he does what he does, but it would hurt like hell.
Although briefly you say let her choose. I mean, you shouldn't let kids of that young choose life decisions like that. That's not safe. I mean, especially if she's been in a prison for however long time. Of course she's going to choose out of the prison. So you shouldn't. Her vote shouldn't really count because she doesn't know the context, and she doesn't know what it means to be taken up to be an energy life form. Neither does he. So I'm not going to agree with that personally.
Perfectly stupid. Any parent would have gone with her. Well, that was never part of the deal. She asked if he can go with her, and he doesn't even clarify whether that's possible. First of all, but yeah,
I never considered that. I don't know if I agree. Because there's two things to this. There's the you're losing your daughter 100% maybe, but saving her soul sort of maybe. Because she is dying. Like, you are losing your daughter forever and all time. But it's better to lose her physically for all time and leave some of her essence in the universe than have her die and nothing be left. But either way, you're losing a daughter, she is dying, you are losing her forever. You can't really win on that. And my thought behind his acting, which I is so below the surface, he's underplaying it way more than I would ever direct the actor to do. I think, and see if you agree with me on this, the reason he's so removed from this scene is that for months now, she's been his patient, and he's already accepted her going to die. He's not thinking that mentally, but he's accepted she's dying. So he's already let go of her emotionally. So this is just a patient, and he gets this little bit of hope, but he can let go of her much easier because she is as close to dead to him as his rational brain is letting. So that's why he's underselling the scene massively, because he's already given up. And he, as a doctor, you wouldn't, unless you've given up, you wouldn't do this, because you've already found a planet 6 weeks ago where they could cure her. So tech could cure her, but you're basically sending her off to an anesthetist or whatever the suicide place is, accepting it's a better way of living. So he's obviously given up entirely to allow her to do this. So I think that's how the scene plays. For me, what do you think?
It's also the hope of her being able to live and be happy.
Well, not live, just exist and be happy.
Same fucking thing. Like I said, all you want for your kids is to be happy and safe. And that's exactly what this thing is promising. Sure, it could have ulterior motives, as we saw with Isabella in TNG, kind of evil. But it doesn't play that way. And it's a tough decision, regardless. There's no.
Yeah, I think he's more. She's already lost to him, so he's accepting the 1% chance this'll still be her and mean something. Yeah. Because 1% is better than her dying in. That's why if we had a ticking clock of, because imagine if, and this would have been really, really important, right? At the start of the episode, if they'd said, how long has she got left? 7 hours, right? At the end, Una says 5 hours had lost. If he had worked out it's been 5 hours, she only has like 81 minutes left of life, then the choice would be more obvious, because I'm not going to keep her here for an extra. That becomes a meaningless choice. This way it means more of a heart-wrenching choice, but he doesn't act it that way really. So I think the ticking clock could have made more sense, but taken the emotion out. But like I say, letting her go underplays. I would have certainly done a bit more with the scene, but then she kind of ascends, sort of Stargate vibe here, and then the massively unexpected, she reappears while he's still looking down from the same processing, and bosh, as she is.
This is actually a friend of mine from Alberta who talks to me on Facebook Messenger all the time. I don't really know him personally, but talked to him for quite a few years. This is actually his cousin that plays this role. And he's like, that's great. You got to roll on Star Trek. That's awesome because you're going to be non-corporeal. You can come back anytime.
I mean, can we get her on the show?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, that'd be fun. Can she have the exact same hair and costume, though? Because I love the hair and the costume. It's like, how do I... we can be our first interview, Because it's such a hard role to try and do.
Yeah, his name is Rick Gold. So I just him out that this is his cousin, so...
I recognise his name from... Yeah. But this I think is the super surprising, because I expected to end there and be sad and move on. To have her come back 4 seconds later,
it's almost more heart-wrenching though, because
you
didn't get a chance to see her grow up. But you know that she's happy, she's healthy, she's lived a complete life, thousands of years, she's seen lots of things. She says there's a chance you can go see me again. There's all this hope here. So it's both sad and not sad at the same time. But as a parent, to not see your kid grow up is awful. There are the times I look at Cassie and go, why didn't you stay 9? I wish you could have stayed 9 because you were so cute. But you have to watch them grow up. So it's actually quite a poignant scene, actually.
And when Chuck has a great point as well, it redeems Mbenga to put the crew first.
Yes, it does,
But
absolutely.
it's a
'Cause
change for his previous behavior.
It says,
Yeah.
choose the crew or choose your daughter. He says, you can't ask me to make that choice.
I didn't even consider that, but that's amazingly true. He's you know, although in fairness, if she's, well, no,
And that goes back to what Una was saying earlier. You're still chief medical officer. You have duties. You have a crew to that you're responsible for as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of tie-ins from the start of the episode, dialogue-wise.
Yep.
It works surprisingly well. But this, I think, you need this double twist because, like I said already, he's given up on her. His heart is resung with life here. He actually acts this scene fully because she's dead, she's gone. Oh wait, that was the right thing. I might have lost my daughter, but I've kept I've kept her. It becomes tangible. It does put a very big final end on the storyline. Like, this is the closing. We have the closure. We have the finality. He can move on, which is surprising, given the this is his entire arc 100%. But this is what really gives it the beauty of the scene.
And NZ Fade says, wait till you have to deal with teenagers. I've dealt with 3 of them. They're all grown up now, and I have one at home who's 18. So don't tell me that I have to wait till I deal with teenagers. I know what teenagers are like. Chill. But the entity is now named Deborah after her mom, and that really touches him as well. He kind of tears up there and covers his face. I don't know. I think it's quite a touching scene. So.
Yeah. No. I think that it really adds something to do the double twist. I mean, were you shocked it happened?
I was. Yeah. The first time I was like, wow, that's bold.
Yeah.
But it kind of is like a double stab to the heart of now. You missed her growing up essentially, but you know she's fine. So it's kind of like it's good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes.
And then Hammer's like, oh my god, I have a headache. Doctor, am I in your quarters? Yes, I roofied you. Don't you remember at the nightclub? The last thing I remember was being in engineering, being stuck in this nebula. Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, it plays a little bit dodgy, this scene. Especially as I'm wondering, like, he obviously can't see. He's smelling Mbenga all in his quarters. That must be the most disconcerting thing ever. He's never been here at all. So he's like, this is dodgy. Although it was nice seeing back in uniform instantly. Like, the colour of them. It's like, oh yeah, that's what TOS is. But then it cuts to a very active sickbay finally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get the end with... Well, there is a different... I guess there's a princess in the story, so it makes sense that it's not his princess, but it's the princess of the story, so that kind of works.
Yeah. A nice scene with Una, like, you know what happened during the 5 hours? Because I've been through something incredible. And it all started with Once Upon a Time. Nice ending, honestly. But she's safe, and, she's safe. That's all that matters, honestly.
Yeah, no,
I love how she says, so you know what happened during the missing 5 hours? And he's like, or she says, sounds like a hell of a story. It is. Read this book, and you'll know exactly what happened.
Except the last bit, we were fancying Ortega's. It's a bit too of a low-key ending for me. Personally, and Una's are not overly good in this scene, I don't think. It's a fine scene, but I think it could have had a more cool thing. And it's her job to learn what happened as well. I don't think he'd be allowed to hide that. He's not the captain, he's not second in command, he should be ordered to tell, etc. So I wish he'd started telling the story and made fun of it and said, and you were there, and you were there. I would have wanted a bit more of a fun scene. Or even if the last scene had been in the mess hall, where... Or over dinner, and he's like, and you were the princess. I was. And you're a dog. Oh, I hate dogs. I think it would have done with a nice
nice
group.
Saying.
Yeah.
I sang.
I wish that had been the last scene, and I get the so poignant, but I think
that might be in another episode. Maybe they'll be cut to a scene of them at a dinner. And I was a princess, honestly, and then cut to the actual conversation.
I wouldn't suit those sorts of clothes. No, you did.
And you should really consider wearing them more often, because.
Birthday present.
Yeah.
Yes. But there you go. Still, we need $41 though, guys, to help us reach our minimum. We're not being that, ambitious. Just our minimum is happy with us today. But what is
likes?
Those as well. But what is our next part of the? What do we do next, Stuart? What's our next thing?
This is where you super chat in with your scores. So if you want to do a couple of 5s, 10 or 20, whatever, like I said, we need another $40. So if you super chat your score in, I will read those after we give our final thoughts on the episode and our scores. And if you want to just put your your score in the regular chat, Samuel will read those when we're done as well. And then we will be finishing out. So, and 7 more people hit that like button. And if you're watching this after the fact, which a lot of people do, hit that like button still. And also, don't forget there's a super thanks option down there, which you can try for. It helps us out immensely, and it's like a super chat, but on a non-live episode. So, also there's the last super chat slot available right now. Eric Martin has it, so if anybody wants to get it from him, this is time for the super chat snipe war to begin. So, there you go. I am EC. I'll read your comment. Perfect. That's an awesome super chat. Thank you so much. I'll read your comment after we give our final scores, though, because you have a score there. So we will give our final thoughts on the episode, and then I'll get to that in a second. So, but thank you so much. That doesn't mean that just because we hit our minimum, you guys shouldn't super chat. Just saying. Even a 5, a 1 is helpful. Anyway, so my final thoughts on the episode. I thought this was a fun episode. I really enjoyed it. I love seeing the characters play against type. Pike and Mbanga and Ortegas were standouts, and honestly, it was a really fun episode of Trek for me. I really dug it. It was like a Q episode without the Q, or a shenanigansy holodeck episode. So those are always fun. I do like the alternate reality kind of stuff, as you guys know. So it's just fun seeing the characters do different things. The end was quite poignant and touching, and as a parent, it really spoke to me. Yes, you can quibble about the decision he made, but you're not him, and everybody would make different decisions in that situation. So I think it played out pretty well, and it's fun the way it ended with seeing the older her and knowing that she's fine, essentially. And even naming the entity after her mom was quite touching. So it's his deceased wife and his daughter exploring the universe together, essentially, and that's kind of amazing. The fact that and he can be more at ease now. Yes, he misses her absolutely, but he knows that she's out there and that she's doing what she wants to do. She's creating her own stories, which is what she wanted to do. So. I did like the redress of the ship. I just wish there was more of a ticking clock, both with her illness, like more of a time frame that we actually had established, and also for the ship. I wish the ship was slowly turning into this kingdom. Like eventually it would go past the exterior hull and actually kill everybody. But like the hallways deteriorating and just seeing the infinite forest beyond would be cool. But small little things. But overall, really fun episode. And it's one of these ones that's very divisive for some reason. You either love it or you hate it. And I don't understand that. I don't understand how you could not like this episode. But that's just me. For me, score-wise, just out of pure enjoyment factor, it's going to be pretty high. But like I told Samuel, I really enjoy Fistful of Datas too. But if you say, name some of your favorite episodes of TNG, Fistful of Datas isn't one that pops into my mind instantly. It's scored high for a different reason. So did you get that score? I saw the thing freeze for a second. Oh, 8.8 on this one for the score. Just because I did enjoy it, and I would definitely watch it again. Anytime this is on, I would watch it because it's just fun seeing Pike be a coward and Ortegas being badass. I thought it was fun. There you go. There's my score. How about you?
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. I actually kind of wish that in season 2 there's a scene where their memories get unlocked and they remember being the other personalities. You could play into this as more of a fun serialized thing, or maybe one of their subconscious, maybe the character lingers in them and it gets pulled out in another episode and they can have twin personality. You could play with this as a further concept. It's fun. It's cool. Its pacing is a bit slow for sure, and I can imagine, if you thought it was a hallucination, it would change your feeling. at the start. If you didn't care about them being fake characters, you would not enjoy it as much. There are things that you have to buy into it the way they intend to enjoy it, because unless you do, there is certainly some niggles. It's well scripted, there's some nice nuances. Second time, you appreciate the callbacks and the prep stuff. Everyone pretty much gets a good amount to do, except the two that don't, being Spock gets almost nothing, and number one, similar thing, but there's always going to be casualties, that's fine. Ortega's gets the most.
Chapel didn't get much, but Stern Spock owned the last episode. So.
Yeah, and they all get a moment. They're very good at giving everyone a moment every episode. The costuming fantastic. The set dressing was great, although I really wish they'd had two versions of the forests, because when they went again, they do a little bit too much in the corals look identical because they're identical. I wish they'd had, a red forest, a blue forest, a green forest. A sense of progression through the kingdom. Very small thing, but to kind of give a bit more visual variety to it than just the same set, shot the same way, filmed the same way, same actors, same costumes. It does get a bit visually dull after a while. But for a pandemic episode, I mean, you really can't tell. Credit on them. Compared to Discovery, you don't even think of pandemic being the theme of or the name of the game. They're hiding it tremendously well. It's not one I would watch a third time. I've had my fill 2 times. There's nothing new I would see a third time. Personally, I would certainly get bored if I watched it in the next 6 to 8 months, because it's very surface level. But that's okay. Most things you watch once, and that's fine. Like how many comedies are you going to watch more than once? But score-wise, I'm going to base on the first reaction sort of vibe versus the rewatch, because that's how you watch it most times. I'm going to give it a solid 8. I think it does too many good things to ignore. I can't go higher than 8 because it's missing all the Star Trek-isms I like, but because it commits to its bit fully, that it's that high, and you can see they're having fun. I don't want it to be one of the best of the season because it's missing all the Star Trek-ness of Star Trek, but because of fun value, it gets high, and we'll see what the final scores are at the end of the year. At the end of this chunk. And as we always do, guys, retrospective will come, a drunk cards retrospective after the final episode, where we'll re-review each one based on both retrospect and rewatching, especially the first couple, and we'll give our scores, re-give our scores in that review, and then we'll compare it to what we actually gave our scores, which is always a lot of fun to see how our memories of the episode versus our first reaction scores are, and we can tell you conclusively which are our favourite episodes, via the science of it rather than just what we think our favourite are. So I'm looking forward to that, to see what actually are our favourite, because we can't get more unbiased than right after we watch it. So always trust our previous scores, but it's good, and I really hope they bring these things back. I can imagine playing all these characters would be fun to come back another way. A hallucination, or Mbenga getting convert into his alternate persona for a scene in another. You know what I mean? There's enough here. Even
just the crown on his head, and he walks around the corner, and Peck's like, "What's on your head?" It's a sign that his daughter needs his help or something.
Or that's what they would have done in TNG. I think if this was Picard, he would have replicated part of the costume to put in his quarters, because now it means something to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Cool. Let's look at your scores, guys.
Yes.
I am Misi throws in $40. Amazing super chat. Thank you so much.
Boom.
9 out of 10. I think Strange New Worlds might be my favorite first season of Trek now as a whole, though I don't want Spock to chide me for jinxing it. TOS is still the best.
Yeah, more stories and just generally better stories.
Yeah.
But that's the rare case. So
5-0 Charlie, $2. 5 out of 10.
Ooh.
Not into the alternate character episods.
That's fine.
I totally am.
Yeah. I mean, some people don't like time travel stories, and it's like that's one of the core principles of Star Trek. But I don't like other stuff too, so no judgment on that. Yeah. It was doomed from the start for you.
Matt Borman, $5, 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
Love when Trek doesn't take itself serious. It's nice to have a fun reprieve. Some people need to lighten up.
Yeah, the problem with the 9 though is that you're saying it's almost perfect, and that sort of denigrates the other 9 out of 10 episodes of other seasons who are like everything that's firing all cylinders. It's kind of like it is depressing when Intimate Darkly is the best Enterprise episode, because it's not the Enterprise episode, it's a mirror Enterprise. Like, the characters aren't the characters, the story isn't there, but it's because they made it the best for me personally. So if this is the best episode of the season, which it isn't, but if it was, then it's like the least like the show is the best of the show, which is a problem. You know what I mean? So they're giving it such, I always be hesitant giving it such a high score as a 9. But I think 8 is very generous and very true for me.
A Saucy Puppet Show, $10.
Oh, thank you.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. All of the actors seemed like they were having fun. That said, probably not one I'll be going out of my way to watch again. Yeah,
that's pretty much me in a nutshell as well. I wasn't overly excited for the fantasy stuff based on seeing the pre-stuff at Chicago, but they've done a great story, so I can't, do a great job. But now, guys, we're $17 away from another excellent record, and that really helps our Monday, so that is really good.
Another $20 super chat would be awesome.
That is true. So non-super scores, let's see what everyone else says. I'm just interested to see what you guys say. So, Devereaux, 8 out of 10. Project, 7.5 out of 10. Shannon, 9 out of 10. Steve, this sucked. NZ Fade, 7 out of 10. Eric, 9. Mario, 5. Ozzy, 9. Stanley's 8. Steve, 3. Skipped most of it, which means you can't judge it then. Andrew, 7 out of 10. George, 9 out of 10. Megan, 7. Oh, 9.5. Wow. Almost perfect. Chuck, 6. Django, 4. John, 8.4. Stephen, 8. Species, 6 out of 10 initially, but ended up being an 8. Big jump there. Xavier, 8.9. Han, 7.0. Let's Joko, 5.5. Alan Parr, 8. Matthew Frias, 8.5. Squadron Course, 8. Matt, 9 as well, again. Yeah. That is another rock and roll episode for Stranger Worlds. They are doing a good job.
Saucy Puppet Show throws in $20 and says, "Ask and ye shall receive." Well, thank you so much. That is much appreciated.
If only it was truly that easy.
Thank you, my liege.
Amazing.
I will serve you to the death. And we hit over 100 likes. Sweet. Perfect. This has been a good review.
Yes. Well, it's nice when they're good episodes. Like I said, I'm not going to go back to watch it again, but you enjoy it first time. It's like I like the Robin Hood episode less now, having now fully watched it. Like, a chunk of it I don't like as much, like once you go back again. But excited to retrospect of this. Excited to get back to TNG reviews. Excited to see what ends. I believe they said the last two are somewhat a two-parter. We've only got a little bit left from the trailers, to wit, the big thing is the crashed Constitution class. That is what is to come. So, excited to see how big a scope we go. We'll end on a cliffhanger. They knew they were going to get 2 seasons. They can end on a cliffhanger and know they're going to serve it off. Are we going to get Klingons, a hint to season 2? Are we going to get Archer, Angel back? I don't know. What are we going to get? Are we going to get maybe some Telosians? Who knows? Who knows?
Anna Nash, $10. I'm a wizard. You got a wizard hammer.
Oh, that should have been a line. That was an obvious line. Yeah.
That's a great way to end it. So thank you so much, guys, for watching.
Yes.
Have yourselves a good evening.
Oh, I did promise, though,
weekend.
that I'd read out the comments from our other review. Should I get a few more of. So, the comments of our spoiler-filled review, edited one, were Lee Walsh. Some of this episode I didn't care for, but actually loved the ending and payoff. John Mac Watt. I quite like this episode. I do find it surprising when people say this isn't very Trekky. I can think of a dozen similar Trek episodes. Catspaw, Squire of Gothos, TNG Peakid, Imaginary Friend, DS9, If Wishes Were Horses, Armand Bashir. So by definition it seems Trekky. Although those all have more specific. Anyway. NZ Fade, I'm commenting because Samuel made me. Good. And Mario. I think this episode was a little better than most of the others, but still a miss for me. Memento Mori and Children of the Comet were legitimately good episodes, but it's been a long stretch of suck otherwise. Ooh. They can't keep coasting, 5 out of 10, although I believe Rakia was dead the whole time. No one remembers what happened because nothing happened. That is true. I did see that as a theory, that he was hallucinating from the drugs. His daughter did die in between, and this is all a thing to have him cope, which actually you could totally get.
All right. Well, thank you guys for commenting and liking and super chatting and super thanksing if you're watching this after the fact. And George Mangrum throws in $5.
Oh,
Still have to see Baby Gorn this season. Yep.
I'm telling you, it'll be gone.
Yep. Anywho, on that note, we will see you guys later next week. And on the weekend, we have some edited content coming out, obviously. So keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe.
Indeed.
So until next time, he is Commander Cocking.
He's Captain Foley. Bye, guys.
See you guys later.